So I decided to make a quick intro. You see, a true racist hates somebody for their race, no matter what they do. Say it's a white racist, right? Even if all the blacks went back to Africa and they taught in their schools that the white man is superior, that he civilized everybody, that he's their savior, they all worshipped white images of Jesus, and they spoke English, and they built statues of white people, the white racists would still hate them for their race. Then there are people who resent racial groups for what they're doing and the general attitude. Either they're playing stupid about what the rest of them are doing, or they're the ones doing it themselves. And then there's a small group of people that are the exception to the rule, but whoever judges anything by the exception to the rule, and why should they? It's like you get a million pizzas in a row from Domino's or something, and you don't like it, and then once they deliver a nice pizza, you're not going to say all of a sudden, well, Domino's isn't so bad. You're going to say, well, Domino's sucks. And once in a million times, they surprise me, kind of thing, okay? Now, anyway, so let me just cover this real quick. We'll get into the two clips and wrap this up in about 33 minutes or so. So there's different levels of resentment. You can resent a group of people for something that's unreasonable, such as the typical ignorant yuppie class that resent the poor black people. They say, they are the main reasons they're disenfranchised. They brought them here as slaves, never gave them a fair chance to get on their feet. They pretended that things are fair and that institutional racism and eugenics and gentrification don't exist. They pretend there's no wage gap. They pretend everything's all peachy and black people complain for no reason. And then they turn around and hate them for robbing and doing, ghetto things and whatever. Not all black people do that, but you get my point. That's resenting a race for an unreasonable reason. Then there's being oppressed by rich and powerful people that control almost every aspect of mainstream culture, politics, institutions, economics, the social life, and so on. Okay? To resent them for what they're doing and their eugenic agenda is intellectually honest. The situation I described before, resenting the victims of your oppression and pretending that you're not oppressing them, that is disingenuous. That is intellectual dishonesty. Thank you. I'm going to explain this whole position on race and why I'm so harsh with certain ethnic groups and racial groups. And I'm going to put it in a way that everyone can understand. I am not a racist, but I resent people as racial groups when they group together as races, and ultimately what they're doing as a race in general is very evil on the highest level. For example, somebody who's a career criminal, who's a thief, a common thief, will never be worse than some super rich international financier that exploits and disenfranchises thousands and thousands of people. In some cases, millions. It's never going to be worse, no matter how rich one of them looks and how poor the other one looks. So, I could go group by group. There's a lot of ways for me to tackle this. I'm going to unlist this video. This is just for people who feel like they need an explanation. I'm going to give them the explanation. Anyone ever brings it up, I'm going to link them to this video. So you can judge a racial group by several things, okay, as a group. One is ultimately is what they believe and what they're doing caused by their inordinate influence on society? Or is it a victim resorting to doing what they believe they need to survive? Now, they're almost, anyone who commits any crime, almost always, they're doing the wrong thing, and they don't have a great excuse for it. But you have to consider everything, you have to consider the underlying cause, the root cause. So my problem with the non-black people, remember I'm black and white. My problem with non-blacks, I'm gonna go over one major group at a time. My problem with the Jews is that they're international financiers. As one group of people, they might be the most influential group of people on the planet. It's really hard to say, but it comes close with them and the whites. Jewish women, just like any other group of women, have shunned me unless they're extremely unattractive. Okay? Automatically, I lose respect for any racial group by default who are pushing social norms that make it so that a transcendent hero is being shunned by its women for whatever reason. Okay, so therefore, by default, I do not respect any racial group in the world, any ethnic group in the world, by default. Okay, so now there's varying degrees of my resentment. It's not racial hatred. It's not racial discrimination. I don't discriminate on these people. I just call it like I see it. Okay, I resent these people. I extremely resent whites, Jews, Asians, Hispanics, Islanders, natives, and blacks to a lesser degree. Okay, and this is after studying these people for a long time from many angles: politically, spiritually, romantically, socially, financially, and trying to truly understand these groups of people. Why did their women, socially deject me? Why did they shun me? Why was there social rejection from these people? Why didn't they help me? And what is their problem? Why are they running psych ops on me? So when you look at the psych op, right, first and foremost, it's whites and Jews are the main people doing these psych ops. I mean, anyone who doesn't see that is a fucking idiot. I mean, really an idiot. And I see a lot of people pretending that race is not an issue here, which is completely ridiculous. Okay? Race is one of the biggest issues here because this is eugenics. And eugenicists are historically, and I've read a lot more and I've watched a lot more videos on eugenics than other people have, especially in the last 5 years or so. So I'm more, I'm not the top expert on eugenics, but I'm definitely far more educated than 99% of people on the subject. And I'm telling you, there's no way around that race is a major part of eugenics. Whether you are talking about the early eugenics movement with Galton and them, going on to Davenport and on and on, all these guys, Margaret Sanger, John D. Rockefeller, Harry Laughlin, Madison Grant, on and on, okay? Or whether you're looking at Nazi Germany, eugenics always and never has ceased to have a major racial component to it. So when I start calling them names that have to do with species of animals, I think it takes somebody who's really foolish to not make the connection. Well, why is he calling them maggots? Well, why is he calling them rats? Why is he referring to himself as a falcon? I just saw, let me look this up for you, what this series is called. And I'll tell you, in this series on Amazon, they said a hawk is bad luck. Okay? Now, why on earth would having a necklace with a hawk on it be bad luck? And coincidentally, I was talking about Set and watching Star Wars videos about the Sith and thinking about the connection between Set and Sith. Oh, it's Vegas, the series Vegas. Okay, so when I look at these groups of people, what do I see? When I think of white people, first and foremost, I think of rich people, snobby, whores, kind of indifferent people, these kind of insecure rich men, who are very comfortable in their lifestyle, so they're not going to change. And I think about snobbish women. Then I think about
kind of middle-class yuppies. I think about cowboys and kind of rural, southern accents. People from New York with the East Coast accent, Irish and Italians and Polish and different people with different accents and different, And so when I ultimately think about them, I see these kind of, I think of basically, they're all afraid. These rich people are afraid to lose their money. They're afraid of being exposed and somebody pointing out their greed. These poor people are afraid to go against the rich person. And I'm not even referring to their fear of the black man. It's like their social fear, their fear in general of society's judgment. The people who aren't rising up against the rich and aren't sticking up for the disenfranchised around the world, they're afraid that people will see them as cowards who, aren't going to stick their neck out for anyone because they're too concerned with their own survival. And then there's these rich people who are afraid people will see that they're not going to do the right thing because they're too concerned with their own self-interest and standard of living. So that by itself, I don't really hate them for that. I hate them because their women are shunning me, because they are the main people responsible for 100 million preventable deaths a year, whites and Jews. And then there's Asians who, are very business oriented, and they're also think about karma and stuff. So they feel like if they go against the grain, they're exchanging karma with these people. They don't want to do that. They're also very secret society oriented. There's a lot of Tongs and Chinese Masons and tons of secret societies, And so they have used their network, their politeness, their wit, their educations to climb the social ladder. Not all of them, but, generally speaking. So there's a lot of resentment here for a good reason. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you like this so you really understand. A lot of you probably understand right now. I'm going to put it very simply. I probably should have said this from the start. What they're doing to me is worse than calling me a nigger every moment of every day of my life. What they're doing is worse than drawing pictures of monkeys on the road, all from, with Negro features, if you will, all the way to wherever I usually go. What they're doing is worse than having monkeys strung up on a rope on every tree from here to the nearest store. What they're doing is much worse than insulting me in the worst way you can think of verbally. By denying me my credit, by running psyops on me. Okay, every moment of the day, these people are in the process of running a psyop on me. Some of them are in the KKK. Okay, some of them are rich, greedy Jews. Some are Asians who rolled with it. Once you truly understand the situation, there is nothing I can say that is going to even come close to the amount of racist injustice that they are throwing my way every moment of every day, directed at me, and they are spending tons and tons of money to suppress me for this racially charged reason known as eugenics. The whole thing has been set up for whites, Jews, and Asians to have the upper hand, and they're suppressing me to the best of their ability. They're putting their mind to it. They're focusing. They're thinking hard. They're recruiting the best and the brightest that they have to offer to suppress me. They're getting my people to sell out to suppress me for their racial agenda. Now, if I started calling them every name in the book every moment of every day, it wouldn't come close to the amount of racial injustice that they are not only directing at me, but they are doing to me. Not to mention that out of 100 million preventable deaths a year, they are disproportionately black people. The same cowards who are running a psyop on me. And when you consider everything, it is impossible to come to the conclusion that I am the racist. What you are seeing is the resentment that racial hatred created. Now, I'm almost out of time. So let's cover the Hispanics. Let's wrap this up. I pretty much cover the whites, Jews, and Asians. I could go into more detail, but I'm pretty sure you guys get the picture by now. So we can kind of put the islanders, the natives, and the Hispanics almost in the same category. Not because they look the same or something, not because they speak the same language, they don't, but because their role is similar in the New World Order. Generally speaking, Hispanic Americans have it better than Black Americans. I'm not talking about people who are here illegally. I'm talking about the citizens of this country. When you're talking about the citizens of America, Black people have it the worst, and therefore they are the least to blame. They take the brunt of it, and they're playing the smallest role in the New World Order. And this almost directly has to do with the fact that every other race is more white than Black people. You have Filipinos who, many of them are mixed with Spanish. And that's a whole lesson in history. I'm not going to get into it. A lot of these islanders are lighter skinned for a reason because they're mixed with white people. Okay, Hispanics, I don't think I have to explain to you, Spanish and, Cortez and the Mayans and the Aztecs. I'm sure you all understand that pretty much every Hispanic in America is mixed with white. Pretty much every native in America is mixed with white. And as a result, because of the eugenic structure of things and this silly logical fallacy that the white man is trying to prove that his DNA specifically is superior, that is scientific racism, and it means that he must elevate every race that is mixed with white above Black people to prove his pseudo-scientific illogical point. So, the only way for a Black man to fire back is to point out his hypocrisy. To point out the hypocrisy of the white man is what I'm saying. His, meaning the white man. To point out the white power structure and the Jewish international financiers' hypocrisy. To point out their shortcomings. They have forced me into a position where either I allow them to do it, or I point out their shortcomings and I do it in a way that everyone can understand that is extremely insulting. Extremely. The more insulting, the better. And keep in mind, they are doing things in a way that is more racist than I could possibly conjure up myself, given the situation. And how they have all this money, scientific racism, financial racism, if you will, because they're using their money to do it. They're using their money for racist purposes. They are a bunch of deadly racists. And I am a righteous man who resents them for it. There's no way around that. So you'll have to excuse me if I call them runts, maggots, rats, and other inferior forms of life who are trying to prove a point which is... And you know what they say? They say things along the lines of, don't talk about this and we'll help you out. Say that your top martial arts challenge doesn't mean anything and we'll help you out. This, that, and the other thing. They say everything that has to do with the eugenic organization of America. They're basically saying to me, if you're going to put it in, if you want me to translate it for you, bow down to the white power structure of America, know your fucking insignificant nigger place, and we'll help you out, We'll give you some dog food, throw you a fucking bone, maybe scratch behind your ears, maybe pat you on the fucking head. You know why? Because we're pieces of fucking shit. We enslaved your people. We kill your people every moment of every fucking day. We are lowly, greedy, selfish, shallow scum. And that's the best we can offer a nigger subhuman such as you. Okay, that is what they are saying in different words. Oh, he's playing the race card. Why, they're a bunch of fucking Eurocentric eugenicist dogs. Killing Black people like fucking killing flies in a I don't know what to compare it to. I mean, it's just so fucking blatant. It is so egregious. It is so flagrant. And they want me to be nice to them. Why do you have to be such a jerk about it? Call me fucking crazy, but when you kill motherfuckers that somebody cares about, they're inclined to be a little bit cranky about it. A little disturbed. A little moody. A little unsettled. A little bothered. And it's so sad because I'm going to tell you like this. And it's sad because there's a part of me that wants to say this, and there's a part of me that says, don't say this. Don't say this. These people have done you so wrong. Is that I love white people. I love Hispanic people. I love Jewish people. I love Asian people. I love islanders. I love natives. Okay, I'm attracted to their women. I like their food. I don't want to wipe them off the face of the earth. And they have broken my fucking heart by doing this. By rolling with it. The people on the top, they've all broken my heart. Because I'm inclined to get along with everybody. But these lowly scumbags, they did everything they could to make sure that I hate them. And then they're surprised when I'm calling them fucking names. Kind of reminds me of, when you're younger, right? You fight with your brothers, or your sisters, depending on whatever the case. Sibling rivalry, whatever you want to call it. But not necessarily the rivalry, just being upset. Sometimes you say things you don't mean, but you're mad at them for a good reason. But these people, every moment of every day, they give me every reason to cut them off, to push them away, to resent them, to the point where I damn near hate them. And never is there any cooling off period. There's no reason to forgive them. They are unrepentant sinners. If your brother sins, rebuke him. If he repents, forgive him. They don't repent. Every moment of every day. So am I supposed to pretend like, well, this is a general problem? And just kind of say, oh, the world is, generally the world's fucked up and there's nothing we can do. Or do you have to get into the specifics of it? Do you have to get your hands dirty and make everybody hate you when you point out the specifics? This race is doing it for this reason. This political group is doing it for this reason. It's because I did what I needed to do that they hate me more than everybody else. Because I call them out as groups. And then that group gets their panties in a bunch. How dare he insult us? Who does he think he is? Going back to that internal organization of America, to the order, to the white power structure run by Western Europeans mostly and white Jews. Who does he think he is? He thinks he's bad. We can't let him get away with this. This type of stuff. But what was I supposed to do? Not do what it takes like a bitch? Had to man up and call them out by groups. And then when I felt that their egos weren't offended enough, when their images and their reputations were intact and they didn't feel any threat, I had to step it up. I had to really start pushing their fucking buttons. Force them to choose between martyring me and doing damage control a different way and actually making the world a better place to save face. I mean, isn't that just disgusting? The only way we're ever going to make the world a better place is if we force these people to save face and do the right thing. Just like a politician caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Well, now he's got to stop taking cookies and pretend like, hey, you know what? You can't prove it was me, and he's got to stop doing it. All these people have their hands in the cookie jar. Unless you bust them out as a group, it's him, not as a snitch, mind you, but as a revolutionary highlighting the oppressor's injustices. The injustices coming from the oppressors. So yes, I had to call these people out. I had to call everybody out, from the little sissy, ninny homosexuals, all the way to the dangerous organized criminals, to people who have billions of dollars at stake, who are very much willing to hire people to snuff me out to keep their business interests, their business afloat, their business interests preserved, and operating smoothly. I mean, give me a fucking break. I'm sure after you see this video, you understand exactly. And then don't forget, they're covertly drugging me and provoking me every day with trolls and all this shit. I'm sure that didn't help. To see the same people you're already mad at, the same groups that you called out long before they were gang stalking you, to start provoking you and doing shit sneaky. Well, what am I mad about in the first place? A bunch of sinful dogs manipulating things behind the scenes and hiding behind mainstream misconceptions. And what is the psych op about? These same fucking bad actors, these same bad apples, meddling behind the scenes and hiding behind mainstream misconceptions. So what I'm angry about in the first place, the people I'm angry at in the first place are using color of law and the loopholes in the law and all this bitch shit to come together as one big criminal conglomerate fucking collaboration, cahoots, fucking cabal motherfuckers. Bunch of criminal cunts. You understand me? That's how it is. I mean, you can say he's ranting and raving. Does it matter if somebody is ranting and raving if he's telling the truth? Does it matter if he has ice cream on his fucking beard? Does it matter if he has a fucking clown hat? If he's telling the truth. So one of the lessons from the Bible is that it didn't matter that Jesus wasn't in a fucking tuxedo or a three-piece fucking suit. He was telling the truth, and people listened because that's what rational people are supposed to do. It didn't matter if he was whipping people in the temple or if he was saying it calmly and peaceful-like, because he was telling the truth. And that is what rational people are supposed to do. And when you tell the truth in a world full of liars, they say, oh, he's crazy. He's crazy for two reasons. One, he couldn't possibly be right because then we would look bad. For two, he's crazy to tell the truth around these people who kill people for telling the truth. So their argument, no matter how you slice it, almost by default, is that he's crazy. So in other words, for you to be a true revolutionary, number one, they need to try to pretend like you're crazy. And number two, a true, uncontrolled, effective revolutionary. One, they have to pretend like you're crazy. And two, they have to run a psych op on you. Or you're not a true, uncontrolled, effective revolutionary. You're just somebody who's, either controlled or you're doing things in a way that they don't really have a problem with. And some of these people they don't have a problem with, such as Colin Ross, are very helpful. They're providing a lot of helpful information. We need people like that, but we shouldn't respect people like that more than we respect people such as myself, whose head is on the fucking chopping block, in order to save the world. But they're still respectable, okay? There's a pyramid of respect. There's a pyramid of spiritually admirable people, of spiritually successful people, okay? And on the top of the human pyramid of spiritually successful human beings are people like me. At the top of the pyramid of who we should respect are people like me. So then to be shunned by different ethnic and racial groups of women, while undesirable women that I couldn't possibly love or be attracted to are trying to prey on the situation, is part of the resentment I have for these races. These materialistic people, whether it is black people and their pettiness in the ghetto, talking about my money with a pocket full of pennies, or maybe even having a pocket full of drug money. Either way, it's materialistic thinking, it's nonsense. Or some rich white fucking people acting like they're important and that they deserve to be in their position, that they're privileged and they're entitled. Their sense of entitlement, it's materialism in every group I see, and some groups of people are suffering from it worse than others because of the position they hold in society and the amount of influence they have and how they use it. You got to see this thing for what it is. The first step is to identify the problem. Then you analyze the problem, and then you come up with solutions. And then you find what is the best course of action to take, and you take it. And you take it with all of your heart. And you die for what you believe, if that is what it takes to bring progress, real solutions, real righteousness and honor. And so when I look at the Bible, right, and how these people were fighting for honor in the Bible, Benaniah, fighting for honor, 1 Chronicles 11, I believe. He takes on the tall Egyptian. This Egyptian was 8 feet tall with a spear. He rushed him with a club. You understand me? Because he was fighting for honor. And he was respected by King David himself for fighting for honor. These aren't people looking for society to, pretend like the people who are better than them aren't better than them. These are people who did what it takes to be better than the greatest warriors around, and they were immortalized in religious texts, in scriptures, in the Bible. Benaniah. And he struck down an Egyptian who was 5 cubits tall, or around 8 feet, according to Bible Hub. Although the Egyptian had a spear like a weaver's rod in his hand, Benaniah went against him with a club. He snatched the spear from the Egyptian's hand and killed him with his own spear. That tells us 2 things. One, that men of great stature, these tall men, these giants, are great warriors. Something we all should know in the first place. And 2, when you have a powerful connection with God, it doesn't matter who's taller, who's stronger, who's faster. When God chooses you, you will be victorious. Such were the exploits of Benaniah, son of Jehoiada. He too was as famous as the 3 mighty warriors. He was held in greater honor than any of the 30. But he was not included among the 3, and David put him in charge of his bodyguard. Some deep stuff right there, man. A man that God chose put another man that God chose in charge of his bodyguard. And what did he do? He fought. And what did he gain? People, are you paying attention? He was held in great honor. In greater honor than any of the 30, rather. Not great honor, but he was held in greater honor than any of the 30. He fought with his heart for what he believed was a noble cause, and he achieved honor. Another way to look at it is he was fighting for honor and he achieved it. And he was given a great position in society as a result. His rightful place in society as a result, for doing the right thing, not compromising with evil, and conquering his enemies, regardless how tall, strong, fast, agile, how much dexterity they had, how nice weapons they had. A spear like a weaver's rod. But yet you women sit there and pretend that being a great warrior and fighting for honor is irrelevant, that all that matters is money. Now are you starting to see how in Babylon's system of materialism and people selling out to the root of all evil, arguably money? Now don't you see what I'm getting at? How evil it is for their women to shun me. How evil it is for them to pretend that I am wrong and to cover up my greatness.